today we're going to talk about multiplying fractions. So we're going to start out by thinking about this question. What is a half of a half? So if you said that that would be 1/4, your instinct is correct. So let's go ahead and draw a picture of this so that we can start to see what's happening here. So if I had this rectangle represent a whole, and I divided it in half, this left-hand side would be my half, then I want to take half of a half, so I'll divide this in half again, and then I'm just interested in this half of the half. I can kind of see that this is, a smaller chunk, and if I divided everything into those same size pieces, I'd have 4 pieces in the whole, so each of these is a size of 1/4. Just have one of them filled in, so this would be 1/4. So I want you to know that this same problem can be thought of in terms of multiplying fractions. We could write it out as 1/2 times 1/2 equals 1/4. So you may have heard this before, but sometimes it's helpful to think of multiplying like finding area. So the idea here is that if I had a square that was, some rectangle, some rectangle that was 2 squares tall, and it was 3 squares wide, then I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little squares in here. And that would be the same thing as 2 times 3 equals 6. So let's go ahead and see how that would work out when we're dealing with fractions. So right here I'm going to look at that same example, 1/2 times 1/2. And in my picture here I already have a box representing the whole, where I've kind of drawn this part of it so that it's shaded in to be 1/2 wide. So my rectangle is 1/2 wide, and I have to figure out how tall it is. So it should be 1/2 tall as well. So this is my 1/2 tall distance. So I'll go ahead and fill that in. And now I've got a square over here that is 1/2 of the rectangle wide and 1/2 of the rectangle tall. So that's going to be 1/4, because I have 4 little pieces over here and I have one of them shaded in as the overlap for 1/2 wide and 1/2 tall. So that's going to be how we're going to draw a lot of these pictures. So let's go ahead and see if you can figure out what we would get if we multiplied 1/4 times 1/2. I'm going to give you a chance to pause the video and try that problem. Okay, so for this one we're going to make ourselves a really huge big square so I can see what's happening a little bit better. And so I'll start with 1/4. I'm going to divide this into 4 columns. So now I've got a rectangle right here that is 1/4 wide. Then I want to also make a rectangle that is 1/2 tall. So that's going to be right here, 1/2 tall. Okay, so that'll be 1/4 wide and 1/2 tall. So now we can see that when we put those two together, we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. So each piece is going to be an 1/8, and only one of them is filled in. So our answer will be 1/8. Okay, so let's go on ahead, and now we'll do an example that's a little bit more complicated. Remember that when I have a number in parentheses and another number in parentheses and the two parentheses are touching, this means that I want to multiply these two numbers together. So here I've got 2/3, and I can see that this part of the box is 2/3 wide, times 3/4. We can see that this part of the box is 3/4 tall. So in order to figure out what I get when I multiply 2/3 times 3/4, I'm trying to figure out how much of the box is this rectangle right here. So in this rectangle, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 smaller triangles, or smaller rectangles. And up here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rectangles that are actually filled in for my shape. So that's going to be the same as 6/12. And this is actually a fraction that we can reduce down some. So I'll divide the top by 6, divide the bottom by 6, and I will get 1/2 as my final answer. Okay. So let's go ahead and I will let you guys do another practice. So for this one, go ahead and pause the video and try doing 5/8 times 2/5. Okay, so for this problem I've already got my picture drawn to make it a little bit faster. So along the bottom here, you can see that I've divided this into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns. So each of these is going to be 1/8 of the box. And then I filled in 5 of those columns. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8 down here. And then I'm going to multiply that by 2/5. So I divided the box into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. And I've got 2 of those rows filled in. So I've got 2/5 up here. So when I multiply these two together, my 2/5 and my 5/8, and multiply those two together, I'm going to get how many little boxes? So if I've got 8 boxes by 5 boxes, this should be 40. That would take me a long time to count, so I'm just going to go ahead and say I know that this is 8 by 5, it's got to be 40. So then on top, this space right here is 2 tall and 5 wide, so this is going to have to be 10 up on top. Okay, so now we can see that this is also a fraction that we can reduce. Divide the top by 10, divide the bottom by 10, and we're going to get 1/4 as our final answer. Okay, so now we're going to go on to a new example, and in this new example we're going to use some of the same things that we started to notice here, that my number that I ended up with on the bottom is really just going to be this bottom number times this bottom number, because I'm looking at how many boxes wide by how many boxes tall I've got. And my top number is just going to be this filled in rectangle up here, which is my top number times my top number right here. So if I draw that out, for this one I'm going to have 2/5, and on top I'm going to have 3/7. So then this box right here, a 2 by 3 box, will give me 6, and a 5 by 7 box will give me 3/5. So my answer for this one will be 6/35. Okay, so let's go ahead and do one more practice problem like that. Go ahead and let you guys do 3/4 times 5/6. Okay, so this box right here, I know that my little rectangle up here. We got a big rectangle down here. So this one's going to be 3/4, 5/6. So my little rectangle will have to be 3 times 5 is 15. And my big rectangle will have to be 4 times 6 is 24. So my final answer for this one, well, final might need a little bit of cleaning up, but my answer for this one will be 15/24. Then to make it a final answer, we'll have to reduce this. So we'll divide the top by 3 and the bottom by 3, because they're both divisible by 3. So then I'll get 5/8 for my final answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and go one step farther with this so that we can solve some more complicated problems like these ones that have mixed numbers. So when I solve a problem with mixed numbers, the first thing that I'm going to want to do is figure out what each of these fractions looks like as an improper fraction. So here I've got 1 times 4 gives me 4, plus 1 is 5, 5/4. And here I've got 1 times 9 is 9, plus 2 is 11. So I've got 11/9. So just like we were noticing up here, the number that I got on the bottom was always just these bottom numbers multiplied together. So I'll go ahead and multiply 4 times 9 will give me 36, and on top I've got 5 times 11 will give me 55. And I want to check and see if there's anything I can reduce in this number. The top is divisible by 5 and 11. The bottom is divisible by 2 and 4 and 3 and 9. Don't have anything in common, so can't reduce this. But it is bigger than 1. The top number is bigger than the bottom number. And since I was given mixed numbers in my original problem, probably want to put it back into mixed numbers for my final answer. So 36 goes into 55 one time. 36, okay. 4, 1, 15 minus 6 will give me 9. And 4 minus 3 will give me 1. So this will be the same as 1 and 19/36. Okay, so when it really comes down to it, these are hard to picture what's happening. Once we can start to see what's happening, the steps aren't too bad. So let's go ahead and let you guys do this practice problem on your own, and then we'll come back together and see what the answer should be. Okay, so here I've got 1 times 3 is 3, 3 plus 1 is 4, so I've got 4/3. Over here I've got 1 times 5 is 5, plus 1 is 6, so over here I've got 6/5. Now I want to multiply these two together. So we're just going to go ahead and multiply the bottom numbers together. That'll give me 15ths. Multiply the top numbers together. So 4 times 6 will give me 24. See whether or not this can reduce. Seeing both of these are multiples of 3, so I'm going to go ahead and divide by 3. So we've got 8/5, 8/5. Again, 8 is bigger than 5, so we're going to want to turn this back into a mixed number. Always do the bottom number goes into the top number one time. So then I get 3 left over. That'll be 3/5. So this is going to be equal to 1 and 3/5. And that right there will be our final answer. So this is the end of our official lesson for today. If you feel like you would like some more practice, then go ahead and try these extra problems, I'm going to give you time to pause the video, and then I will write down the solution.